Thousands of Americans took to the streets today in coordinated pro-democracy protests under the banner "No Kings" across major cities nationwide. Demonstrators gathered from New York to Los Angeles, carrying signs demanding governmental accountability and rejecting authoritarian leadership. The protests represent the largest coordinated civilian response to current political tensions, with organizers citing concerns over executive overreach during the ongoing Iran conflict. Participants included diverse coalitions of students, veterans, and civil rights groups who converged on state capitals and federal buildings. Local authorities reported largely peaceful demonstrations, though some cities saw brief confrontations between opposing groups. The movement appears to be gaining momentum through social media coordination, with similar protests planned internationally. These demonstrations signal growing public unease about democratic institutions and highlight deep divisions over presidential war powers. The timing coincides with mounting criticism of military decision-making processes, suggesting these protests could influence upcoming congressional debates on war authorization and executive authority. 1 month into the Iran conflict, military analysts are questioning President Trump's instinct-driven approach to warfare, with BBC reporting significant strategic failures. Defense experts point to erratic decision-making patterns that have complicated coalition-building efforts and undermined traditional military planning processes. The administration's reliance on presidential gut feelings rather than comprehensive intelligence assessments has reportedly frustrated Pentagon officials and NATO allies. Key tactical decisions made without consulting military leadership have led to missed opportunities and unnecessary casualties, according to sources within the defense establishment. International partners express growing concerns about America's unpredictable military posture, with several European allies reconsidering their support levels. The conflict's expansion beyond initial objectives reflects what critics describe as a fundamental misunderstanding of Middle Eastern geopolitics. Congressional leaders from both parties are demanding more structured decision-making processes and clearer strategic objectives. This mounting criticism could force significant changes in military command structure and potentially influence the war's trajectory as public support continues to erode. Yemen's Houthi rebels have opened a dangerous new front in the Iran conflict, launching coordinated attacks against Israeli targets and pledging expanded military operations. The Iranian-backed group announced increased missile and drone strikes as the broader Middle East war enters its second month with no signs of de-escalation. Regional security experts warn this development could transform a bilateral conflict into a full-scale regional war, potentially drawing in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and other neighboring powers. The Houthis' sophisticated weaponry, supplied by Iranian forces, poses significant threats to Israeli civilian areas and critical infrastructure. International shipping lanes in the Red Sea face renewed disruption as the group expands its target range beyond traditional enemies. This escalation comes despite ongoing diplomatic efforts by European mediators to contain the conflict's geographic scope. Military analysts fear the involvement of multiple proxy forces could create an uncontrollable spiral of violence across the region. The situation demands immediate international intervention to prevent what could become the Middle East's most devastating conflict in decades, with global economic implications already becoming apparent. The White House faces mounting criticism for its controversial approach to communicating Iran war updates, blending real combat footage with video game clips and movie scenes. Administration officials have released social media content that intersperses actual missile strikes and battlefield destruction with gaming graphics and Hollywood action sequences. Critics argue this gamification of warfare trivializes the human cost of conflict and desensitizes the public to military violence. Media ethics experts express alarm at the blurring of reality and entertainment in official government communications about active combat operations. The strategy appears designed to engage younger demographics through familiar gaming aesthetics, but has sparked outrage from military families and veteran organizations. International observers note this represents an unprecedented approach to war communication that could influence how other nations present military conflicts. Congressional oversight committees are demanding explanations for the communication strategy and its approval process within the administration. This controversy adds another layer to growing questions about the administration's handling of the Iran conflict and could impact public support for continued military operations as the war's costs become increasingly apparent. House Armed Services Committee ranking member Adam Smith delivered sharp criticism of the month-old Iran war during discussions about military strategy and Department of Homeland Security funding. The Washington Democrat raised serious concerns about the lack of clear objectives and the absence of congressional consultation in major military decisions. Smith emphasized that sustained military operations require comprehensive legislative oversight and transparent strategic planning, both currently lacking in the Iran conflict. His comments reflect growing bipartisan unease in Congress about the war's direction and the administration's reluctance to seek formal authorization for expanded operations. The Armed Services Committee is preparing hearings to examine military readiness, casualty reports, and long-term strategic implications of the ongoing conflict. Smith specifically highlighted concerns about domestic security vulnerabilities as military resources focus overseas, linking Iran operations to homeland security funding priorities. These congressional discussions signal potential challenges for continued war funding and could force the administration to provide more detailed justifications for military actions. The intersection of war oversight and domestic security funding may become a critical battleground for congressional influence over foreign policy decisions.